And a very good evening, everybody, and a warm welcome to your Saturday night Lyceum Night, coming to you from the Paul Spiritualist Church down on the south coast of the UK. First one of the year, 2025. I've had a few days just chillaxing, a few days having a bit of a digital detox as well. But one of the things I did do, I was just going back through some of our online work. So I was tidying up a few playlists and YouTube, Facebook, yada yada, all the things we have to do. Not complaining. And it was just like, wow, how, these lyceums now have been going on for quite a while. And still they're very much in people's minds. We had a free half-day workshop today on philosophy. Wonderful to see people we knew and new people coming to the church to explore this very important facet of our movement. And it was in and amongst the conversations there, people were saying, oh, the Lyceum. And I had the privilege of taking a online service last night, and at the end they were saying, oh, what's coming up? And I was going, I've got no idea, because I'm not very organized unless I have my calendar. But somebody there said, well, what about the Lyceum? And I thought, gosh, yes. And it's one of those things, we've been doing these Lyceums now for quite a while, and you know the old saying, familiarity breeds, etc., etc. And I thought, yes, Lawrence, you need to pull your socks up a little bit about these, because they are really interesting platforms. They are interesting, or at least I hope they are. I've had some wonderful discussions with people. And with the ability now not to have to be here for the live version, but to pick it up at a later date, or indeed export it as a podcast for people to play, they've done really well. And I was just looking at our virtual presence and thought, actually, this is very pleasing. This is very good. I've just sat here this afternoon. We had the workshop, wonderful. It was a few hours, but yeah, it worked really well. Got people talking, a little bit of background on philosophy, where it comes from, what its idea is, the different ways the other world work with us, because we do have a bit of a hang-up about the term mediumship. And in the workshop today, I brought this up and it was the same response. When you say the word medium, what do you envisage? What do you see? And again, it was all very much about somebody stood on a platform or in a one-to-one sitting communicating with the dead. And I thought, yeah, we've still got a long way to go here with just looking at our terminology. I do find it, and I know I'm a bit pedantic, and people that know me are going, oh, yeah. But when you really listen to the wordage that people use, it's very enlightening, it's very interesting, where what they're actually saying. It'll come out in a sentence, and if you just take it off the cuff, it's just like you may go down the wrong path to answer it. But if you actually listen to the wording, and as I say, with the mediumship side, this is going to be one of the emphasis points here at Paul in 2025, is encouraging the understanding that mediumship is expressed in our evidential, is expressed, what do you mean not really, Roy? I think it's being cheeky there. Hello, Belinda, lovely Belinda. Yeah, the term mediumship is just the form, what presence is your mediumship? So are you working as an evidential medium? Are you working as a philosophical medium, a healing medium, the healers? I think this year should also be the year of the healers, those unsung heroes of our movement. But there's so many other forms, the inspirational. I touch on things, I look at some of the great works of art, and classical music, which is one of my favourites. All times of the day and night, it was just sort of like, oh, I need a quick classical fix. And when you look beyond these things, you can almost see the hand of spirit. You can almost see that inspirational side. And to me, the truer signs of the inspiration from the other world is that things become timeless. I love reading. Thank you, everybody who's donated books to us in 2024. These are now finally being sorted, arranged, catalogued, recorded, valued, long process, but to get them out on the shelves. And I'll freely admit that I was getting books out and I'm going, oh, I like this. Oh, I need to read this. At the moment, half the library's sat on my shelf. No, it's not. But there are a few books in there. I thought, oh, yes, that's interesting. But the thing that always strikes me is the timelessness of things. I had his name earlier on and it's gone. Book written in 1876. It's a transcription from a trance circle, and everything that was said was written down. And he was in the Isle of Man, and then he moved to near here. And his name, it's terrible, isn't it? It's getting mature. Anyway, wonderful book, 1876. But if you read some of the passages, he's talking about the world today. He's talking about the challenges of today's life. He's talking about the situations that we find today. And I find that absolutely fascinating. I look into that and dig away at that, because a lot of the things that we're facing, again, it's just a very, very difficult world out there. Every facet of our life has got challenges in it. And it is very difficult and very onerous to keep navigating all these challenges. But the old books and the later, today's mediums, the trance mediums, there's some wonderful ones working and up and coming. You find that the teachings are that timeless element. And it just goes to show, doesn't it, that although, the things we're facing in today's world seems to be very much of today, very much of the time, actually, when you go into the root cause of it, when you try and get to the underlying reasons, these are the timeless elements there. Unfortunately, a lot of them revolve around the negative side of humanity, greed, desire for control and power and things like that, which spur on events. Without going too far down that road, we look at the world stage and how many conflicts have been going on for years and years and years. And we are continually bombarded by, give us your money, these people are suffering. On one side of the coin, and on the other side of the coin, the countries we live in are the ones that are selling these countries armaments. It's just sort of like, hang on a minute. So I'm not going to go down that road because that would be very contentious and wouldn't serve a point, wouldn't serve something of value. But yes, the timelessness of spirit. When I got up from the workshop, I popped the telly on more for noise than anything else. And Harry Potter film came on, and that's quite nice. That's, nice and easy and predictable and, interesting. But I was watching it and getting caught up with the marvel and the wonder and the magic. Not the magic portrayed in the film, but just the magic of the film. It has this ability to transport you, to lift you, just to take you outside of the real world just for a short time and just be in that wonderful existence there, that wonderful, flying, soaring on your broomstick and all sorts of things. Absolutely wonderful. And then I bring that to spiritualism and the magic in our movement. Quick hello to people. Valerie, hello, darling. Nice to see you. Mark John, good evening. Craig, hello. Nice to see you. And yeah, I looked for the magic within spiritualism because it is magical. You know, the word magic has been hijacked by various groups and cults, etc., etc. But you take, if we try and look at our movement again with fresh eyes, because I think we've got a little bit stuck. I think we've got a little bit stayed in what we expect from our movement. Very much the focus has become solely on the message. Now, I'm not decrying that, because the evidential side of spiritualism is the thing that sets us apart from the orthodox. When we deal with the orthodoxy, you know, everything is on trust and faith. Fine, absolutely fine. I'm not knocking that at all. But you look at spiritualism, we've got that unique ability that we can stand there and say, you do not die, and here's the evidence. Now, we always use the term evidence, and that's very interesting, because I always say I can't prove anything to anybody, because if they don't want to know that, or if they're not in the right frame of mind or the right stage of development or whatever reason, you are never going to be able to prove it. I'm sure some of the working mediums out there, hello, lovely Susie, have all faced this situation, be it in a sitting or a demonstration. You know, I've got a gentleman here, yada, 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 he's your father, yes. And the sister goes, well, what's her name? You know, and it's like, okay, here we go. Always a difficult one to navigate, that one. My belief is, and I actually did say this to a sitter once, because I do tend to, see this mouth? This works totally independent of the brain at times. My brain just sits there going, oh, for God's sake, I've told you about this. And I was doing a sitting for a gentleman, described this gentleman stepping forward, relationship, father, yes, I understand that. Description, certain attributes of the father, yes. And then the sitter just goes, well, what's his name? And before I realised I'd said it, which is about 30% of my life, and the other 30% is clearing up my mess. Before I realised I said it, I said, when you were 15 and sat there watching Tiswas and your dad walked in, what's the first thing you said to him is, what's your name? I mean, seriously, come on. So it's always that very tenuous thing that we can offer the evidence. And that's what we continually strive to do. And just looking in the room here, I know there's some wonderful working mediums here who I'm sure will agree. And if you don't agree, fine, let me know. Put the comments in. But we can only provide the evidence. We can't make people believe. We can't coerce people into looking more into spiritualism. We can't force people to go down the educational side, because again, this is another facet that I think has been neglected. There was a saying came up a few days ago and I thought, oh, I like that. And it said, knowledge is nothing without wisdom. And I thought, oh, I like that saying. Because we see that, don't we? We see people who are, you know, they attend their churches and centres for whatever reason, week in, week out maybe, or once a month or whatever. Come in, maybe get a message, that was a lovely message, go home. Has it changed anything in them? We don't know. The active spiritualist wants people to go, yeah, I'm going to sign up now, all your educational courses. I'm going to start reading books. I want to be doing all that. You know, wouldn't that be lovely if everybody responded like that? Wouldn't that just be a joy? But it's not. It's that dripping water, just dripping water on the stone technique the other world used through their instruments, through the working evidential mediums and healing mediums. And just keep laying out that evidence. And I said to the other world once, I said, do you ever get tired of giving continual evidence and there's no uptake, there's no movement from that evidence? And said, we are here to give. And I went, okay, yeah, I fully get that. I love their one-liners because they're so simple. And I like simple. I sit and make things complicated, but I like the simple things. And I thought, yeah, that's true. So, yeah, there's so much scope within spiritualism. If we just focus on the main three expressions of mediumship for this time, and that would be your evidential, your healing, and your philosophical. Because there's many more. The inspirational, building a community, all sorts of things which you can get that inspiration from the other world for if you ask, if you listen, if you get your awareness out there. But when we look at the three cornerstones of our movement, there is just so much there that can bring real benefit to people. And yeah, just sometimes it does. I would always like more. If I have 30 people in for something, I want 40. If I have 40 in, I want 50. If I have 100 in, I want 200 in. That's me. And it's the same with our teaching groups, our educational nights. It's wonderful the people that are in there, but we could always do with more. And I'm sure every church centre medium up and down the country would probably be the same. But there is so much more that magic, and it's bringing that magic back in to our movement. Those of you who've either been or watched one of our services from here, I know I say it quite a lot, and I know the regular people know what I'm going to say, they understand why. But the new people always just say, remember, this is about you. It's not about the medium. You're not here to watch an act. We can only work with what you bring and the loved ones that draw close because of your presence. And when we do, we want to be working on that wonderful circle of energy. So you've got the communicator there going through to the medium relaying that to the sitter. And ideally, what we want to try and promote and try and encourage and try and educate people is that when that information gets to the sitter, that their thoughts reconnect to that spirit. That should be bringing that spirit through for them as a personal thing. It's all right somebody giving you loads of information about somebody, 6'2", eyes are blue, yada, yada, smoked woodbine. Yeah, that's fine. That's good. That is part of our job. But when you can get the sitter to realise and go, oh my God, that's my dad. Oh, Dad, I've missed you so much. I always say, every now and then my mum will pop in and I always go, uh-oh, what have I done? What have I done now? But my thoughts go to my mum. Because the minute I know it's my mum, that's it. My mum's there in my mind. She's alive again. And her presence is there. And it's just absolutely beautiful. And this side of it, we need to look at ways of encouraging that within our congregations, within our sitters. And with our up-and-coming mediums on the training, because again, this is going to be another big part of the emphasis here at Poole this year, is the development of the mediums, not so much with the technique of how to make a link, how to communicate, how to be in front of a congregation, how to do this, but their own personal development. Because, as a working medium, I'll share something. And again, things I share is not to, look at me, am I good? Because I'm not. Seriously, when I'm dead, read my biography. You'll be horrified. I ended up doing a private sitting for somebody. And you know what? How thick can we be at times? These people wanted to sit in the day they wanted it. There were mediums in the church. I'm asking all the mediums for whatever reason, one way or the other. Absolutely fine. None of them could do it. I phoned somebody up. They weren't available. I came upstairs and my team said to me, she wants to see a medium, Lawrence. So I went, oh, okay. But it was one of those rare sittings that the emotion was through the roof. Absolutely incredible emotion. And when I finished and, just spoke and talked through a few things with them and saw them on their way. Number one, I saw a happy couple leaving the church, whereas that was not what walked into the church, which is beautiful. But when I came and just sat and chilled, I thought, you know what? That is when the magic really happens. That is part of the magic. And that was just awesome. And that was just a pure honor to be a part of, a pure privilege to be a part of. Not for my ego, not for me, not for self, but just to be able to work as that intermediate. And again, it's just another little reminder about the magic within our movement. Just quick few hello, lovely Belinda. None so blind as they that will not see. So true, so true. You get people coming in at times and you do question, you're just thinking, why are you here? What are you looking for? Because everything we're presenting is being treated like, I'm looking at today's menu and going, oh no, I don't fancy that. It's just sort of like, so what is it? What has drawn you here? Mark John, good evening, sir. I find when people ask things when working, I block. I feel I need to keep speaking. Yeah, it can be very distracting, especially in the earlier days for somebody. It can be a real, just pull the plug out of the wall. It's just like that. It's like, oh my God, what's going on? Even when you learn to verse and to how to handle it, it's still a difficulty. It's still, okay, makes you think, right, what's going on? I've just got to say a quick hello here. Lovely Margaret. Did you enjoy your pork pie? It was lovely to see you yesterday. How nice. Roy, lovely Roy. Life is good when we are close to spirit. Do you know what? That is really true, Roy. That is really true. And I'm sure I'd be interested to hear from the other working mediums in the group tonight and later if you're watching tomorrow or whenever. You get what you need, don't you? When you really get into that role of being the working healer, the working medium, the working whatever, you always get what you need. You may not get what you want. I still haven't got the £1 million, so I can get the new ceiling, new lighting, solar panels, new platform, new streaming gear, new ultra short throw projector and screen. I'm not getting that. But do you know what? We get what we need. And we get looked after in ways sometimes that maybe we don't truly acknowledge or realise or understand. I know we all go through health issues. I know that. I know we have these ups and downs with our health. But I think sometimes in the main with the working mediums, unless you're working yourself too hard and into the ground and spending too much time in that higher vibration, not enough time in this vibration, health-wise, I'm looking back on my health and there's a couple of underlying conditions which are lovely and in control, even though I keep looking at the pill caddy and going, ooh, ooh, should I take all 3 days now? Oh no, better not. And other things. So we do get looked after, and we do get sort of like little nudges because it's part of the awareness thing. And now this isn't associated solely with working mediums, the awareness side. Because I always say everybody can be a medium. Not everybody will be up on a platform giving messages, a bit like a pianist. You know, you get 10,000 pianists in a room, only one is going to be a concert pianist. The others are just, the others will just be pianists. And it's the same when we start working with our awareness. But I think, you know, everybody can raise their awareness just to even feel spirit around them, feel that time when they draw close, to acknowledge the little things that happen. I say there is nothing to do with coincidence. You know, it's like on the internet, if you type in, I don't know, ice cream, when you go on your social media, and next time, every other advert is all to do with ice cream. Well, I think the spirit world use that algorithm as well at times, because you can put out a thought of, for instance, I've been looking for a book to recommend. I know which one I was thinking of, but I just thought it would be interesting to share this with people. And loads of inspiration came in, loads of thoughts and everything. But then we had 2 other bags of books just suddenly turn up on spec at the church. 2 people sent me a book through the post, not related, not because they'd seen the post, they just did it. I put the thought out about books, and the next thing, they're coming through the post box and being left in bags at the door. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is good. I like this. Thank you. So we do get that help and assistance. But just going back on the topic here, what's your thoughts out there about bringing the magic back in with people? We here at Paul, I have my way, and a lot of people like it, a lot of people don't like it. That's fine. Absolutely, that's not a problem. But I do say to people who don't like it, so what's your solution to it? That tends to go a bit dry then in the conversation. Because it's very easy not to like something, but without having to go through the bother of offering a viable alternative. But yeah, it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on bringing the magic back. Or do you still see the magic? Do you still, when you work, are you in that slightly euphoric state of, this is great? I had a wonderful night. And again, when I talk about my experiences, it's not to say, oh, look at me, am I good? Because again, I'm not. But I just had a marvelous night working online last night. And I found it very, very interesting, the way the other world were working. Because when I went into the virtual room, there were a lot of mediums in there. And I thought, well, that's okay. A few years ago, I would have gone, oh my God, I can't do this. But mediums are people and whatever. So quite a few mediums in there. And the links where I went and I was working with one of the fellow mediums in the room, the evidential side was there, because that is me, and I need the evidence. Give me the evidence. If you can't give me the evidence, we're not going to work together. So the evidential side came in, but then it went straight into about their work, how they are working with the other world, where they feel their strengths are, where the other world feel. And I'm like, this is like mini spiritual assessments. And I'm just finding this absolutely fascinating. Because we should never forget the other world know what we need. They know what we need. Not what we want. We can want lots of things. But they truly know what they need. And at the end of the night, I had a couple of messages from people saying, thank you, that was really helpful. And I'm like, well, it's not me, it's them. But I just found it a fascinating experience. And again, it was that time of magic. It wasn't all about evidence, family members going back and memories of the distant past. It was very progressive and very much of today's world, which I love. I love that coming through. Because why wouldn't the other world give us advice on how to live today? Why wouldn't they? They come to us in love, and it's all very well bringing through Aunt Bessie, who used to knit and was known for apple dumplings and things like that. That's all wonderful. It's very comforting, But as a practical application of when that sitting's finished and they're walking out the door back into the world again, it's not going to do a lot, is it? But if Aunt Bessie comes through and starts saying about, the way you're living your life, or looking at your health, or looking at your relationships, or looking at whatever aspect of your life where you can be effective, where you can make changes to the betterment and the furtherment of things, I mean, why the hell wouldn't they do that? Really, why would they not do that? And I think, sometimes us mediums, we tend to shy away a little bit. Hello, lovely Moya and Elspeth. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Why would the other world not proffer some sort of advice, some sort of thoughts on things to make us think? Because let's say, as humans, when we're struggling with something, when we've got something on our mind, we're only going to go as far as our comfort zone will allow us to look at things. Is that right? Or is that just me? I don't know. Say yay or nay in the comments. But, when you're struggling with something, you can only go as far as your mind will let you go. And sometimes you may get that wonderful friend. They may be here, incarnate, or they may be discarnate. And they will just add that little bit extra. They will add that little bit more. They will push you just slightly out of that comfort zone. But it can be the best thing to happen. It really, really can. Lovely. And Roy McKay there. Part of the magic is finding and learning that the spirit world have an answer to each query. Yeah, they have lots of thoughts. Again, I always very much iterate with people, they're saying this. If you take the advice, great. If you don't take the advice, great. Because we've got our lives to lead. But do you know what? When the spirit world gives their thoughts, gives their advice, it's well worth looking at. Even if you're not going to follow it 100% the way it was said, it may encourage that movement. And we come back to this word, movement. And then we apply that again to our spiritualism and getting the movement back into the movement. There are some great things going on out there. There really are. I'm in touch with a few churches and centres up north, and they've got really good, strong community ethos in them. They do wonderful things through food banks, through warm banks, soup kitchen, all sorts of little things like that. But it's really good because it's a strong basis in community and it keeps things moving. It keeps not the image, that's totally the wrong word. It keeps the presence of the church out there in the community and not shut away, not behind doors, not, there's that spooky place, we don't go there. That image needs to be removed. There's always a telltale sign I hear from people. How do we get more people in our doors? I always just think, do you know what? If we just change the thinking there, instead of saying, how do we get more people in our doors? Why don't we say something like, how can we go out and reach more people? Because that's a whole new ball game, isn't it? You know me, I'm very black and white and a bit cynical, and I'm old. I'm entering the third age now, so yeah, don't care. But I always have this mental image, come to me. And unless you're offering something really, really good, people aren't going to. But, why not go out? Why not be part of the community? Why not get involved with your local community in whatever shape, way or form? Fundraisers for your local community. As many of you are aware, and some of you here tonight very kindly donated as well for our Christmas appeal. I was going down the road, I don't know, it was after New Year, and there's a lovely little old lady who walks her dog, and I often say hello to her, little fuss of the dog. And yeah, she's just a sweet old lady. She really is. And she was walking, she called over and she went, "Oh, how did Christmas go?" And I'm like, "How do you know?" So I went over and she said, "Oh no, there's a couple of people in our block at the sheltered housing came down to you. They said it was lovely. That's such a nice thing to." And I just thought, wow, yeah, you forget. When you do go out into the community, you forget that people talk. People share things. All right, you're going to have your detractors. Sorry, that's going to happen. Whatever you do. If you don't do anything, people will moan about it. If you do change things, people will moan about it. Get used to it. But yeah, it was wonderful, that feedback from community. And that wasn't the only instance. There were a couple of others as well, as complete strangers saying, "Oh, that was such a good thing to do." And again, I'm not saying this, say, "Oh, look at me, aren't I wonderful?" It is about actively being out there in the community and bringing that movement back into our religion. There will be different types of service again this year, as we tried out a few last year tentatively just to see how they go. And they went down really well. We had a session with lovely Sarah Deverell, and we called it Talking Heads. And it was literally just herself and myself talking on the platform, engaging with the congregation, getting questions asked, getting opinions back from people. And it was funny, when we were getting ready to do it, I said, "And don't forget, there will be mediumship." And she went, "Oh, I didn't think we were going to do any." And I said, "Oh, I don't know why I'm saying it, so be warned." And sure enough, somebody asked a question, and in the response, the father stepped in to say a few things. And I just thought, you know what, this is great. People actually love that. Our Lyceum services, where we, instead of the philosophy, we will share some of the history, because that's really important as well. I think sometimes we can be guilty of going too much in the past and using the people of the past as a yardstick of people. "Oh, they're not as good as they used to be." How many times do we hear that? "Oh, they're not Gordon Higginson, are they?" No, they're not. Because Gordon Higginson is Gordon Higginson. Today's medium is today's medium. It's as simple as that. It's not hard, but apparently it is. So the Lyceum services, the talking heads, and there'll be a couple of other little things to try. I want to push as well our evidential mediumship and the way that's presented. And I'm looking for a medium that is very good with their flower reading. I don't mean self-raising or plain. I mean flowers. A flower reading service, because we used to do that. When spiritualism was vibrant and strong, and there was churches and centres opening up literally every week all up and down the country, and it was very much in the public eye, to go along to find out what this thing is all about. And there was a great variety in what we offered people. It wasn't this standardized menu that we offer today. We're going to have a divine service on Sunday, but only give them 10 minutes of philosophy because they've only come for the messages. And we'll do a demo mediumship during the week, and it's just become flat. So that'll be another facet here at Poole, of looking at different ways, different forms of communicating. Psychometry. I love psychometry. I'm going to do a psychometry service. I find that fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And yeah, I can hold a service with that. And different things like that, because, and this is just bringing that magic back in, bringing that joy back in, because, we need that joy, because what better news can you have than we don't die and get the evidence of it? I mean, wow, come on. What more do you want? Anyway, questions. Lovely Belinda, who's sat there sweltering at about 30 degrees in Australia at the moment, but we're not bitter, Belinda, believe me. She's saying, I've been watching Westerns lately and imagining life in the Wild West. My last 3 spirit connections have all been farmers and people who work the land with cattle through periods of drought and hardship. That's pretty magical to me. Yeah, oh gosh, there's so much in there. Thank you, Belinda. Because of the reception that we get from Paul Church with our European friends, I thought, okay, and I keep saying to the other world, come on, I want to start getting some word through in another language. I want to be getting names through in another language. I want to be getting like occupations through. I don't want it to be generic and to the country. I'll give you an example of how this works in reverse. There's a wonderful medium. I know what I'm mentioning. I won't say his name, so he's going to watch it and then tell me off. But he was from one of the Baltic countries, and he said about this person going to their summer house, and they passed away at their summer house. They went there, but they didn't make it back home. And it was an English congregation, and they were going, no. He said, I can see it. I can see him going down to the summer house with their suitcase, with the food, but, falling ill and passing away there. Everyone's going, no. Afterwards, I was talking to him. I said, summer house in the Baltic countries, in the Nordic countries, they have a summer house, which is somewhere like Sardinia, Spain, the Canary Islands, so we're hot. And in the summer, because they have awful winters, they will go and spend time at their summer house. So that message in a Scandinavian congregation would be well understood. But to an English congregation, I'd said to it, in the UK, a summer house is like a shed at the bottom of the garden. And you're saying you saw Dad going down there with 2 suitcases and a bag of food, and people are going, what the hell are you talking about? So that's how it can work in reverse. I'm having some success because we make ourselves open to it. We bring that into our energy. And like Belinda's highlighted there, watching the Westerns, that's brought that energy in and around you. So it's going to be recognized and it's going to be there and available to be used. It's fascinating. It is fascinating. We've got a little bit staid with our mediumship, a bit safe, I'll call it. And we need to drop being safe, because what's the worst going to happen? You're going to get a no, or big whoop. Get a no, big. What do? You go back to the spirit world and you work it out. It's as simple as that. But yeah, we get very worried, and again, this is where it links in with the development of the medium themselves. That will be one of our focuses this year. And when you're out on the platform, be brave. You've got unlimited access to everybody that ever lived. Really take that into your awareness. Really try and grasp the magnitude of that. Don't tie yourself down to Aunt Bessie and her apple dumplings. Really, you've got so much there. So, yeah, I love that, Belinda. Thank you. The lovely Moya. We haven't met yet. I want to meet you. I want to say hi in person. For any spiritual practice or tradition to not only survive but thrive, it needs to be relevant and meaningful to people's lives. Spiritualism, for all its beauty and magic, can sometimes be limited by its archaic expressions and practices. Yeah, and mirrors part of the conversation I was just having there. We need to be more braver with things. We need to maintain that reverence. We need to maintain that dignity. We are working with the discarnate, who are people who have lived a life. They are not there at our beck and call. They are not there to perform for us. They are not dancing monkeys. They are people with feelings, emotions, and things to say. And the people sat in front of us. I mean, a lot of people will go to a medium when times are tough, when times are hard, whether it be bereavement, whether it be anniversaries of bereavement, life struggles, emotional issues, all sorts of things. So we've got a very fragile, I don't like this word, but audience. I don't like that word, audience, but we have got a very fragile audience, and we need to be very, very mindful in that. But do we go too far in dressing things up? We've got a medium down here. I won't mention their name because it's unfair to talk about people unless they're here. And this is not derogatory, it's complimentary. Several mediums have brought my mother through, which has been wonderful. This medium brought my mother through, and he brought through a facet of my mother that none of the other mediums have ever touched on. Now, we all know people in our lives, yeah, they're lovely, they're great, they're good fun, but oh God, yeah, they did have a side. There was this element there as well. And he went straight in on that element. And number one, I was just like, yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Number two, it really helped me because at that time I was having difficulties dealing with a certain type of person. And this character type kept coming up in my pathway. And every time it did, I shied away. And that's not like me, as you may know. But I shied away, and I couldn't understand why I shied away. Why does that character type always wrong foot me? Why does that character type I always feel like I'm on the back pedal? And I couldn't fathom it out. When he did that and brought my mother through with that character, not only was it like, wow, that really is good evidence, it was also an OMG moment because I thought, that's why I'm having trouble with these people that display that character trait, because they remind me of my mother in that energy. So it really, really helped me. We need to be that little bit braver. But as I say, we need to walk that hand in hand, still keeping the respect, still keeping the reverence of what we do. You know, I always say that in and through my evidential mediumship is always adding confirmation that there is a God of whatever understanding, but there is a creative force at hand. But I think we have more opportunities now because of like the electronic era to do one-to-one readings. Now, in the one-to-one readings, we can go that bit further than we could do from a public platform, which is wonderful. Again, we need to be very mindful of our sitter. We need to be very respectful, but we can bring through not stronger evidence, but a stronger presentation. But again, you know, like the lovely Moya says there, archaic expressions and practices. You know, we have got a whole arsenal of things that we can work with hand in hand with the other world. And we tend not to. You know, the new medium coming up. I was annoyed when this was said to me. I understood it, but I was still annoyed. I was talking to two ladies who were well on their development stage, and we spoke about philosophy. And the response was, oh, yeah, we don't do philosophy. And I'm like, why not? Well, our previous circle leader said we'll only ever be doing them, so we don't need to learn philosophy. And I thought, this is the practices we need to be aware of. You know, and this is part of the inspiration for the little logo now with healing, mediumship and philosophy all combined. That there is so much, you know, again, we can connect with everybody and everything that ever was. So why are we having that one little slice of the pie? Why are we going for the granny who loved being in the kitchen or the grandfather who had an allotment? Because we're now coming into generations where granny used to ride a motorbike and was covered in tattoos. grandfather, nobody knows about him because he wasn't married and wasn't part of the family. You know, the whole family dynamic is changing and shifting. But that doesn't mean people of a certain generation should now be denied the opportunity for evidential mediumship because the medium doesn't want to bring that sort of thing through. Very difficult. I always remember I had, and I don't know if other mediums have thought this or if it's just me because I'm nuts. I don't know, and I don't care actually. But I used to have a thing about when you had younger people, and I do mean younger people, I'm talking like late teens, early 20s in the congregation. I always naively used to think, oh, why are they here? Because, you know, I can never give them a message. They don't know anybody who's dead. And in that energy, I got this swift kick up the rear from the other world because I was working. And suddenly I knew what was going on. Although I'd never physically experienced it, I knew what the spirit world was doing. And I had the rubber band going on my arm to make the veins stand out to start using intravenous drugs. And I'm like, first of all, get off! I don't like that. But I went with it. I ran with it. And I didn't say, you know, oh, I've got a druggie here. I've got somebody here who had, you know, a very addictive nature, passed very young. And there was these 3 youngsters there, and I couldn't get away from it. I went, you understand this, gentleman? And they went, sort of. Like, give me more, and he gave me a bit more, and he went, yeah, that's him, you know, blah blah blah. But that was, you know, I just thought, yeah, that was a good lesson for me. Don't premeditate your mediumship. Go in there like an open book. Yeah, you've no idea who's up front, you've no idea who's going to step in, but that shouldn't be a fearful thing. That should be a wow, come on, let's see what's going on. So yes, and I love that tradition, not only to survive but thrive. Yeah, if we are not part of today's world, we will be forgotten. And sorry, that's very painful for some people to hear, but it's true. You know, we're seeing churches now with congregations dwindling in numbers. Why is that? You know, and I'm not being dismissive, rude, or anything negative. You know, if you are going to or involved with the running of a place and you're finding the congregations just keep falling away, it's like any business. We have got a business side to us, because without the business side, we're not going to make money. If we don't make money, we're going to shop. That's the way the world works. But look at, you know, what are we doing? What are our attitudes? Do we have this, how do I get people to come in here? Rather than how do I get people, how do I reach out to people? How do I go out and meet people on their terms? Am I part of the community? You know, do I encourage community involvement? You know, there's all sorts of things we need to do. But yeah, the survive and thrive. I like that, Moya. Sorry, I beg your pardon. So yes, Mark John. I love the way spirit work. I've done a group sitting for about 8 ladies and sitting around the table, and I had a lady in spirit with me, and she said to me, I'm not with anyone at the table. There was workmen upstairs, and I said to the host, I want to go upstairs, and the host asked the workman to come down, told him what he was doing, gave the lady's message to the grandson, wished him happy birthday. It is his birthday that day, so magical. Yeah, the other world will get that message across. But then look at the intricacies of that as well. I mean, it's a lovely story, that, John. Thank you for sharing it. But that grandson could have belonged to a religion where spiritualism is the work of the devil. We've got a church in our area, and that is very firmly the belief. I am the devil incarnate. I had to think about that. That's not my opinion to make. Anyway, it could be, again, this conversation popped up in the philosophy group today. So somebody said we drifted off subject a bit and went, how do you cope as a working medium when you just stood there in a checkout queue and there's somebody there telling you the person in front of them's just lost somebody and all that? How do you work with that? And I said, well, you've got two ways of working with it. You can risk saying to them, do you know what? I've got your mother here. Now, 99.9% of people, if you said that to them out of the blue, in a public area, no forewarning, would treat you accordingly. Or does the other world make you aware of that? So it's giving you the opportunity then to just maybe try and strike up a conversation with that person. You can make a joke and say, God, do I need to sell another kidney on eBay to afford the shopping today or something? Just to start up a dialogue with that person. And invariably, when you're in that situation, under the inspiration of the other world, that dialogue will be rewarded. There will be conversation that will have value, that will have movement to it, that will have support, will have healing within it. So, trust the other world, but then don't displace it all as it's got to be a message for somebody else. It could be a message about somebody else, and you are the tool that is chosen at the time. So, very interesting. Thank you, John. Lovely Margaret. That's how I came to church with John 44 years ago with the flower reading. Oh, wow. Yeah. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you for sharing that. That's, we've got so many different ways we can demonstrate the survival after death of loved ones, people, friends, pets, even. And we're not using them. We're just doing this. It's almost like I used to be in the pub trade, and one of the reasons I left the pub trade, because when I first joined, the food operation was not the main focus. The main focus of pubs used to be the wet trade, the drinks. And then food started coming in, and it was very deregulated that I used to do chicken sandwiches. Apologies to the vegans out there, but we used to do these chicken sandwiches. There's a little bar in the city of London, and we used to get the old broilers in, and we'd be broiling these chickens down, stripping the meat off, and making up these chicken and stuffing sandwiches hot. And people loved them. And, it was when we opened to when we shut, it was these damn sandwiches were flying out the door. My brother was in another pub in North London at the time, and he decided to invest in a pizza oven. And he had great success with that. And then they bought in, there's money to be made out of this food. So they started, the big brewers and chains started imposing more rules and regulations on the food and bringing in branding and then splitting the chains. So you'll be doing this style of food, you'll be doing that style of food. And it took a lot of the love out. It took the creative element. I was living in Soho, and we had Berwick Street Market, which was an amazing place. And if you went down Berwick Street Market on a Saturday afternoon, all the fruit and veg guys would be flogging everything off cheap. And I used to go down there every Saturday afternoon. I'd come back with boxes of avocados and stuff, because it was like 50p for 24 avocados. And that would make up tomorrow's menu. We would have fried avocado, mushed avocado smoothies, free avocado with every pint. But that just kept the flow going. And as I say, I wonder if we can compare that a little bit to our churches and centres, that the acceptable ways to demonstrate communication has to be done, stood there verbally. You have to tick these things off on the list. You have to act in this way only. I'm not having to go at any organisation or whatever, because you see this outside of the organisational churches. You don't do mediumship like that. Why not? Why do we not do mediumship like that? Why do we not do flower readings? Why do we not do psychometry? Somebody said, oh, psychometry, well, that's psychic work. Yeah, you start off on a psychic link. But part and parcel of it, I mean, the real old psychometry mediums, the objects would be placed on the tray near the altar at the beginning of the service. The medium would not be present. The medium then would come out, pick up an object at random, start doing the reading from that, but then link in with the other world and then go to the lady at the back. This is your watch, correct? Yes, that's right. I mean, wow. How wonderful is that? How wonderful is that? So yeah, bringing the magic back in, bringing the that sense of wonderment, the childlike eyes. We've just come through Christmas, haven't we? And Christmas has changed, don't they, every year. When you've got youngsters around you, you can see Christmas through their eyes, and as they get older and start going, get to the Kevin age of 13, oh, it's so unfair. Suddenly Christmas loses its magic. But in our movement, in spiritualism, there's so much room for that magic to be back in. And again, yes, you will have detractors from it. You will have people who don't like it, don't want it. I always say here at Paul, we'll keep trying things. And the day I come down to an empty church, we go, okay, hands up, I'm getting it wrong. Fair enough. Touch wood. That's not happening. We've got a very lively, very engaging, very well-attended church here, which is great because it just shows people enjoy this change. They don't want, as I said, with the start of the year, it's our first divine service tomorrow. So that would be 49 Sunday services we're starting off with tomorrow. I don't want to present 49 services, different demonstrators, but with the same format. Oh, it's 11:15, it must be time for healing. Oh, it's 11:20, it must be time for... I don't want to be in that. I don't want that energy. It's all right as the standard. It's all right as the usual, but not the norm. And just say, right, next week we're going to have Belinda doing psychometry because she says here that she uses psychometry. Wouldn't that be great? And getting that message over, just saying, this in essence is the same as you're seeing with the evidential mediumship. It's just that different presentation, a different way of working with the other world. And don't you think the other world would enjoy working in these different ways? I think they would. I think they would take great enthusiasm in doing these things. There's so much there that we could do to just bring that magic in. I'm not saying turn the system upside down on its head everywhere straight away, but PCPC, bringing stuff in, bringing different ways of working, bringing different ways we interact with people. Because again, it's like the water on stone effect. If you present something the same for 49 Sundays of the year, not everyone's going to enjoy that. Not everyone's going to take to it, and people are going to drift away. People drift in, drift away. That's fine. That's what churches do. But if you can keep that life going, that involvement, and go, oh, do you know what? In a couple of weeks' time, they've got somebody doing flower readings. Oh, what's that? Oh, I don't know, but I'm coming because it's always good. Yeah, and just build on that, and the educational side, explain to people what's going on. Not just suddenly, I've got a daisy. Explain to people what it's doing, how it works, how we are interacting, what the other world think of it. Lovely Roy, do you think online services will be a positive or negative regarding drawing people to churches and dwindling numbers? Good question. Lots of levels on that. Lots and lots of levels. 2020, yeah, online services suddenly exploded because people found that they could, funny enough, in the same energy of what I was just talking about, doing a different style of service. You know, working online is a different style of service, and it works, and it's fascinating. So yeah, 2020, it was the only game in town. And it very quickly caught the attention of people. That's now nearly 5 years old in March. I look at it today, there is, to me, this is only my humble opinion. If you agree, great. If you don't agree, great. Absolutely. Today's world, yeah, it is still a valuable tool. I do see some questionable things on the online experience, which is sad. Whether that be the caliber and abilities of the demonstrator or the organisers. I'm doing, where am I? 2 weeks' time, Canada, church in Canada. Great communication with them. Here's the order of service. Is there any particular songs you would like? This is how we do things. Are you happy with that? Really good. And I've tuned into one of their services just to get an idea. And yeah, great involvement from the people running it. Really good. You go on other sites and, you know, I've gone into a room and go, okay, what do we do? Oh, well, I'll do the introduction, then hand it over to you. It's all yours for 2 hours. Well, I'm not doing 2 hours of mediumship, so you can forget that. Well, other people do it. Well, get them in. Yeah, so there is still great potential with the online. Again, everything's like this double-edged sword, isn't it? You know, not everyone's going to be the same caliber, everyone's going to be the same span, everybody's going to even try or understand to be professional in their presentation and approach. So, I would like to think, Roy, that in the main it's a positive. All right, it has the potential to be great positive. So the string away is, I noticed the Christmas period, there were 4 new online dems of mediumship starting up with people putting out adverts. I'm starting doing demonstrations of mediumships, any mediums, you know, and you just think mediums are going to get to a point of sacrificing their time, you know, because there's no payment in these, and I'm not being mercenary here. There is no payment. You do it for the joy of doing it. But part of that joy of doing it is you want to be presented with a room full of people who are attentive, who maybe have some idea about what spiritualism is about. Not just, we had one the other week, oh my God. It was a rather large lady laying down, having a fag on a bed. A number of people who smoke in their houses, I'm disgusted. But anyway, she's laying there having a fag. And every time she moved, her top was moving down. And the person running the room, oblivious. And I was just talking away, and I said, excuse me one moment, and I sent the organizer a message and saying, could you please turn the camera off, because any second now we're going to see much, much more than we want to see. So, you know, the online experience is open to, if I say ignorance, I don't mean that detrimentally, you know, because if I'm ignorant to a lot of things I don't understand, I don't know. That's me, I'm just ignorant. I'm not ignorant about it, I'm just ignorant to how it should be done. And we're seeing a lot of that. But we are seeing a lot of very good teaching available too. We are seeing a lot of very good demonstrators working. I saw the lovely Phil Dykes and Kerry McLeod work a couple of weeks ago, and Phil was pulling out some evidence out of his hat, and I'm just like, wow, Wow. That's cracking. So, yeah. Regarding drawing people to churches, I would like it that the online presence would actually promote the desire in people to go to churches and centres. But that's going to fall back on the people who are presenting these nights. And if they do present them not well, and if they do just, I've got 48 names I want to get, so hands up, who wants to be my medium, and no vetting. And unfortunately, you do have to do that. You do have to have an idea. I rely very much on instinct. I see a name and I go, oh, I like you. And other names, I go, yeah, I'm not really drawn to you. And I trust that. I trust that a great deal. A little while back, I was out and about for a few churches, and one service, I just really wanted to get up and walk out. I just did not enjoy it in the slightest, and that's not me being a crabby old so-and-so. It was just the present, everything about it was just not right. It was, this is why people laugh at spiritualists, because they've been to places like that. Anyway, you're typing away furiously out there, which is wonderful. So, Roy, going back on psychometry, remember the trays with all sorts in? Yeah, we can do a psychometry. I'm going to do a psychometry because I love the psychometry side. So, yeah, you can have fun with that. That's good. That's good. You can come in and chair for me, Roy. There you go. You were saying about chairing the other day. That'd be lovely. Thank you. Well volunteered, Roy. You heard it here, everybody. Roy just volunteered to chair for me doing the psychometry service. Yay! Oh, I shouldn't be running a church. Anyway, Belinda, lovely Belinda. I used to deal in vintage jewellery and connected with the owners of the pieces from up to 100 years ago. Magical. Yeah, definitely. That ability is there. Stephen! Hello, sweetie. Stephen, listen, anybody, if you want really good, strong, fundamental information about the movement, this is your port of call. Seriously. All right. He's got one of those beautiful minds. And yeah, love him for it. I'm not struck on the ponytail, but I do love his mind. I'm joking, Stephen. You're here soon. Prior to the repeal of the Witchcraft Act 1735 meant we needed to make clear distinction between witchcraft and mediumship. We could work on that situation, looking at the medium, the spiritualism stage in the UK at the moment. But no, we will rise above that. That's not as necessary today, but making the distinction between evidential mediumship is still important. But we now know that they can coexist in a service, but psychic dems can open us to wishy-washy mediumship. Very true. Very true. We have a beginner's introduction to mediumship course here, which will be followed by a psychic course. Now, psychics in our movement, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of this, but I remember training under what we call the old school mediums, and you said the word psychic to them, and it was sort of like, oh, how dare they're only working psychic, how dare! I get that if you are meant to be doing evidential mediumship. I really get that. But I don't decry the psychic, because our world needs as much help as we possibly can, and psychics make great healers, they make great mediators, they make great negotiators, just make great people, with an understanding and awareness of other people's emotions, can help us through that journey of life. We all know somebody who's just totally oblivious to everything around them, raging fires and dogs fighting, and they're tripping, la 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 la. But a good psychic can work with all that. And I always say here at Paul, if I'm going to put on the psychic night, I will advertise the psychic night. I will even go through the thing of the explanation, as we do so often in Circle, the difference between psychic and mediumistic. And I always try to back that up with a demonstration of it, albeit a short one. And not decrying the psychic, but being honest about what we were doing. If I went to see a psychic, now I saw a couple of very well-known mediums, and this was before I understood the difference between psychic and mediumship. And they actually picked out the PIN number from one of the congregation. Now, that is a pure psychic move. They were not told that information, because you could see them as they were working. You could see them pulling that information out. With hindsight, with today's knowledge, I look back on that and thought, that was really clever. As a psychic, as a working psychic, to do that. And I knew the person they had worked with, and I said to him, be honest, is that real? 100%. There's no collusion beforehand. They knew my PIN number. And it's just like, wow, that is really good. But it's understanding what the psychic is. And this is something we need to bring in again with our education side. One of the things I see around as a working medium and going out to churches and centres is the absence of teachings going on, or teachings may be going on, but they're not part of the service. The service is a standalone event. Why not bring the teachings into the service? I know I go on. I know I rabbit on. I know sometimes people go, oh, God, here we go again. But when I'm opening up the service, when I'm doing the introduction, I'm making that effort, because we've got people in there for the first time. We've seen them. And just explaining a little bit and just say, this is a joy. This is a magic. This is a miracle about what we're doing. And just giving them just that little snippet of information to make that service that little bit more understandable, and hopefully whet their appetite. Hopefully get them thinking, get them maybe into some sort of action, whether it be reading, watching, or attending, whatever, but just doing that. But I do see, sadly, in a lot of my travels, I was working somewhere, and the address went off to a different area where I thought we were going, but I thought, oh, that's fine, we'll go along with this. And talking about circles, and I said about physical mediumship, and I just sort of looked at the congregation, and I knew nobody knew what the hell I was talking about. And I did ask, I said, put your hands up if you heard of physical. Nope. Okay, fine, great. Well, physical mediumship, blah, 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 XYZ, things to watch out for, things to be wary of, yada, yada. Something else went on, and I said about, I said, you look back in history and people like Gordon Higginson. And again, I just looked out and there was who? Hands up, is heard of Gordon Higginson? Nobody. And I'm just like, okay, I'm getting this now. Because when I was coming home, I said to my team, what the hell was all that about? What is going on? And they said, you're the teacher. I went, oh, thank you. But why not bring our teaching into our services, and give people the tools to understand what is psychic, what is mediumistic, but then go that one step further and that little bit of discernment with the mediumship. What is Fey generational mediumship? I always say, grandmother here, she was in the kitchen a lot. Well, really? Your grandmother was in the kitchen? Didn't she use a Deliveroo or a microwave? Oh, God, no, because they didn't have them then. And, expose people to a good standard of mediumship and keep that standard going. Not every medium will work the same way, and not every medium, I get on varying degrees with our visiting demonstrators. But all our demonstrators do the job. They present well. They have an understanding. They have words to share within the philosophy. Their demonstrations are of a reputable standard. I always say, one of the big things of the churches and centres, is looking at the structure And the industry standard for a lot of places is Sunday divine service, during the week you'll have a dem. Well, that does mean at the beginning of each year, that church is faced with 100 empty boxes where names need to be. And if you're a church in an area where, well, take our area, so we've got 1, 2, no, they're only every other week, 1, 2, 3, 4. So at the beginning of each year, there is vacancies there for 600 mediums between the churches. 600. And every medium secretary is absolutely cacking themselves trying to get those boxes filled up as soon as possible, because that's their job. I get that. I'm not knocking, I'm not decrying anybody who gives up their time. It's all voluntary, so well done. But, you know, does discernment then go out of the window because I need to fill up all those boxes? So, you know, you're bringing that pressure in on yourself. Here at Poole, we used to be on the industry standard, and we now changed that. So actual services are Sundays only, and then we will have occasional demonstrations, special nights, etc., yada yada. But it does mean at the beginning of the year that I'm only looking for 49 mediums. And yeah, we've got benefits here because of the ability to do a weekend accommodation, etc. is very helpful. So we're very fortunate with that. But you can see why standards have fallen, because again, you know, as I say, take this area as an example. You're looking for 600 mediums to do exactly the same job, to stand up there and perform in this way, and to do this and to do that. And where's the flexibility in that? Where's the other world's influence in that? Yeah, I'm going to sit with that. So yes, thank you, Stephen. My feeling is Susie Woodley, lovely Susie, lovely hair. My feeling is that it's good to have a balance of face-to-face and online. Online connects people worldwide. A lot of countries don't have spiritualist churches. Very true. Very true. And an interesting spin-off of the online phenomena is with our European friends, because their spiritualism is not a recognized religion. Therefore, they can't have a church. You know, to be a church, you've got to be a recognized religion of that country. It's really simple. So they don't have churches. So spiritualism was always very much on if you knew somebody. It wouldn't be something that would be advertised. Even today's world, I know somebody holds healing and demonstration weekend in this fabulous fairyland castle, and just stunning. It's just awesome. But it's very it's not advertised. It's only, you know, it's only if you know people, because there's still, you know, a lot of the countries in Europe, especially when you're getting down to Europe, Italy, Spain, are very strong Catholic influences. And even though Catholic nuns sit in circle, which is not advertised too much, spiritualism isn't well known. But since we went out there online, suddenly people are getting very intrigued and very interested. I really enjoy working with European students because they've got a real thirst for stuff. Yeah, they really, you know, they're really there. They're really involved and intrigued with it all. Sadly, in the UK, with the education side, yes, money's tight. We get that. We know that. It's tight for everybody, including the churches. You know, and it's sort of like, oh, shall I go? Oh, no, I don't think I'll bother. Yeah, the chances of you ever studying with this medium are practically zero without spending thousands of pounds going away on a residential course with them somewhere. And you have the opportunity to spend 2 days with them to glean what you can from them. And you know, oh, I don't know, oh, I'm not sure. But if you put that person over working in Europe, they'd all be there. They'd all be going, oh yeah, really need to, see that person. So, yeah, the online does have great potential. And most certainly working last night's dem, I think we had 2 roomfuls. What's that, 50? Less 3. 47 people in there. Out of the 47, there was probably 26 from Europe, which was lovely. Absolutely lovely. And as a medium, I really enjoyed it because that's a challenge to do a communication with a European. I had once, this man was going out and shooting, like, it wasn't deer, it was like elk or something. They're great big horns. I mean, if you said that to an English congregation, they'd all be going, what the hell are you talking about? But I said about this man, and I said, I know the countryside is incredibly slow, so I know you're up near the Arctic Circle, and I know that this man had this wonderful wood store that he kept absolutely up to the gunnels. And I can see him here coming back from hunting with like an elk, and the woman's going, yes, that's right. And I'm going, that's great. Not great for the elk, obviously. But, it's just, oh, wow. Another one I did with an American firm. I said, I know I'm on the south coast of California here. And I even named the highway. And she went, yeah, that's right. That's where she lived. And I'm just going, wow, I've never been there. This is great. We wouldn't have these opportunities without the online. We wouldn't have that expansion able to encompass in our mediumship. And our mediumship could be expanded limitlessly. But the only thing that limits us is us at times. But yeah, certainly the balance between the face-to-face and online, and as always, I work in some, I can't remember what it was, doing an online, and I was working with a young chap who was in Germany, which was all lovely, and that was like the Thursday night. Well, on the Sunday, I'm looking out at the congregation, I looked at this guy and I thought, I know you. And he came up, he said, he gave me a message on Thursday night. I went, oh my God, you're here? Oh, how wonderful. He said, yeah, we've come over, we're doing something, but I said, I've got to get down to your church. And that's wonderful. Just this wonderful meeting people. Because I was having a thought, I had lots of thoughts, but one of the thoughts I was having, and I do wonder sometimes, and I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this, that within the world of evidential mediums, is there sometimes this risk that we become too insular? That we become too very much, we only work our area, we only work these certain number of churches, we only mix with this certain number of people. And we don't, if I said, oh, do you want to go down Bath and do not, I'm going all that way. But suddenly with the online thing, you're working with people all over the world, all of a sudden. So yeah, just your thoughts on that. Is that me, or is that something other people have noticed, that we can become a little bit insular in our areas? But with the advent of the online, if we wish to take that route, we can actually say travel broadens the mind. So whether you're doing it virtually or in real time, I think it still has the same effect. Lovely Angela. Hello, darling. It's all about professionalism. And until we create a model of excellence, then I wonder. Really good point. Really good point. There has been talk of it, and it's very, very quickly undercut by, how do you judge what is going to be a good media? What criteria do you put on there? The thing is, we give in too easily to that negativity side. You can't do that. You can't do a set standard, but there are guidelines. I'm sure. I'm only using the union as an example. Somebody said to me, "Why do you have so many certificate holders at your church?" And I said, "Well, number one, I'm drawn to people, not their names or the qualifications. But number two, when you do see these certificates, and it's not just the union, there's the ISM and a couple of other organisations that slip my mind. It does show that these people have been willing to submit themselves to their peers for marking. They do need to meet certain modules, say on the history, so it shows people have actually really put some work in. I'm not saying, if they haven't got a certificate, they haven't put the work in. But let's be honest here, there are a few people out there who, they're just being able to make a link and that's it. I'm now a medium. I don't need to do anything else and I'll just continue going on. So, yeah. Yeah, encouraging, because if you go out there and you take money for your services as a medium, you are a professional. But I'm sure you'll all agree, everybody who's got social media, some people are really not acting professionally at the moment. Very betraying. Anyway, lovely Angela, I feel that we need training for the recipients too. Sometimes an online situation, it's like drawing teeth. Yeah. This is a COVID thing. I don't know what the roots are in it. It's really interesting. But yeah, who was it? Lovely. I was up in Scotland. Ewan Irvine was demonstrating with Frederick. That's right. And Ewan went to this, he had this connection, he had this link. Oh, that's interesting. A thought's just come in. He had this link, he was describing this person, not, 200 bits of information that you just get swamped and can't remember what they said, but adequate amounts of information that should secure a memory with somebody. No, nobody. And he went, "Lady there, you understand all this?" "Yes, I do." And, I looked at him, he looked at me, Frederick looked at the ceiling. It was just one of those moments of, "So why didn't you say so?" I do think because we are seeing a change in the way some mediums work, the industry standard again should be that the medium will stand up there and going, "Right, I'm going to the lady at the back in the blue dress. I've got your father here, blah, blah, blah." And they're going, "Yes, yes, yes." That's what people are used to. We're seeing people working differently where we're securing the link with the other world first. Some people don't like that. Some people say, well, they shouldn't know where they're going, but, they're decrying the fact that you're actually securing that link with the communicator first, which is slightly important. So when it's put out, people, whether it be through resilience because it's not mediumship the way they know it, or what else could block that? There must be other emotional things there that could result in that. I think wearing the mask actually took people's, not ability, but confidence in talking out. Because I did notice it after COVID very, very much. Trying to get people to talk, whereas we spent so much time on our own. So there's a lot of psychological damage done for that era as well. But yeah, definitely training for the recipient. And we can do that by this drip feed thing. I don't know if you were on earlier, Angela. I was saying about when I'm introducing a service and just saying to the congregation, you are the most important people here. Us on the platform, we're only doing our bit as the communicators with spirit. It's because of your presence that these people will come through to talk to you. So, take ownership of that. Don't act like you're watching, say this, don't act like you're watching Netflix or Disney Plus. Be engaged with it. Listen out to it. And, if you recognize that communicator, wow, Sorry, but wow, what more do you want? Absolutely. So yeah, then that's always going to be an ongoing thing. That is always going to be how do we handle people? And of course, the way we talk, we're all slightly on the spectrum, aren't we? So I might say fish, and the congregation hear foul. It's just, you just sit there going, "What? Why did he hear that?" Talking of fish, actually, there was this classic one. This medium just kept saying, "But he's holding a salmon," and the sitter was going, "I don't understand it." And he got to that point in his mediumship where he started getting a bit defensive. Now, I think a lot of the mediums in the room here may recognise that. It's not a conscious thought, but it's sort of like, no, I know I'm right. Yeah, no, I don't understand it, but I am right. You just get into that. And he just kept saying, but he's got the salmon, he's holding this salmon. And the sitter's going, I don't understand that, I don't understand that. He said, but he's got this salmon. And I just said to him, what are you seeing? What can you see? He said, it's a fish. And the woman went, his surname was Fish. So it's not just the sitters. It's mediums as well. Say what you see. So there is always going to be that element when we work with a number of people that we work with. There's always going to be that misalignment in our vocabularies. But yeah, that's fine. Part of the fun, isn't it? Apparently. So yeah. I mean, Roy, so many types of teaching, diversity of techniques is the result. Yeah, there are so many different types of teaching available out there. But this is one area, and this is actually down to the churches and centres, not 100%, but in a great deal of things. I say there's a lack of teaching, a lack of education out in the churches. But then you see some of these things being advertised, and I'm going, well, that's not even spiritualism. I'm sorry, why are you doing that? And I get very pedantic about this. We've got a beautiful venue here, lovely location, and from time to time I get approached by people saying, the worst thing you can say to me is, I want to hire your hall, because the minute you say that, Lawrence's mind just shutters down ears. But I've had people approach me and saying, oh yeah, it's lovely, this is spirit, we want to present this. And I'm going, yeah, but that's not spiritualism. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. It's subsidiary, it's complementary, it has a spiritual aspect, but it is not spiritualism. To me, everything in spiritualism has evidence. All right, the evidential mediumship speaks for itself. Healing mediumship, you will find evidence within it. Our philosophy, you will find evidence within it, because you will say something that actually might mean the world to you as the speaker, unbeknownst, or to the sitter. Somebody will come up. How many mediums in the room? There's somebody come up after the service and say, do you know what? I came here today wanting a message, but you answered it in the philosophy. Again, that's an evidential trail. Some of these new things coming in, they're very nice and can be quite harmless. Some of them, I think, can be quite harmful. If you don't listen to me, you're not going to be one of the ones saved. Well, how many times have we heard that in orthodoxy over the centuries? Worrying. So, yeah. See you later, Belinda. Bye-bye, darling. Happy Sunday. I'll stop waffling now. Thank you. Again, I started off thinking, I've got no idea what we're going to talk about, and this will probably be a 5-minute wonder, and here we are, an hour and 40 minutes later. Half of you have probably fallen asleep or reached for the nearest hard liquor listening to me. Cheers. All the best. It's Ribena. But I hope you found something stimulated, found something in there. And yeah, again, even the stuff in there you don't agree with, that's great. I love that. because if you don't agree with something, it means that you've got your own thoughts on it. And it doesn't hurt to be challenged at times with our own thoughts. It's very comfortable to sit there going, I believe in this and that's that. And every now and then something will come up and challenge it. How do we respond to that challenge? That's part of our evolvement, part of our learning. And lovely Susie Woodley, philosophy is a message for all the congregation. Messages are for the individual. I love the B there. I like Furby the Furby the individual. That's a good word. I think we should get that in the Oxford English. Very true. And the other world know this as well. We often leave their thoughts and feelings out of this situation. They understand that. That's why they inspire us to say these things. That's why they bring in this philosophy. That's why they love this conversation. Because you can touch everybody within the congregation. And what I say nowadays, fly. In today's world, the one thing that we can offer people is hope. And be that through our philosophy, through our healing, through our evidential mediumship. That's got to be a very strong element there to give to people. When they get up and walk out the doors of their safe sanctuary, their church and centre, back into the real world, if they can walk a bit lighter, if they can be a little bit more at peace with things, or a little bit more understanding of some of the situations that come up, we're doing the job. And that's what it's about, doing the job. So have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to me waffling. That was great. I've enjoyed this. Even the cats played and gone quiet. Don't forget, tomorrow, 11 o'clock, you can watch the service live from here, first one of 2025. And that's with Mark Stone, will be our demonstrator leading that tomorrow. What else we got coming up? Oh, Friday the 13th, if I remember correctly. No, Friday the 17th. So that is next Friday. 7 o'clock, we have our Mediums Lyceum Night. So that is for working mediums to come together and just talk in an atmosphere where of support for each other. And just chillax and be in that environment of talking of like-minded people. The last one we had, very interesting, the way the conversations go. So, don't forget that. That's on next Friday. And we will be back with the Lyceum next Saturday, the 18th. So, all good fun. Lots of things. So, anyway, in the meantime, shut up, Lawrence. Thank you very much, everybody. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Welcome to 2025. May it be healthy. In mind, in body, in spirit. May it be healthy. New Year to you all. Good night.